Hello YouTube, Algebra here. If you were watching my other video, my introduction, which you might have, you might not have, because as I'm recording this, it's still processing on my channel, my first upload. So it could be a chance that you have not seen it yet, but if you have, I promised that I would do something exciting. And well, for the first thing I'm gonna do a quick Photoshop tutorial. I'm gonna show you guys how I made this. And you don't necessarily have to have it say Algebra. You could have it say whatever you want. Um, Photoshop is not free. It does cost money. I don't know how much exactly. It's been a while. I've had Photoshop for years. But it does cost money. I believe there's a 30-day free trial, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, let me actually quick look that up right now. You go to adobe.com. Let's see. Oh, we have to search it. Photoshop. Let's see if I can see where it says there's a free trial. I believe that there is a free trial. Um, so I, I honestly don't know. It has been a very, very long time since I've used the free trial of Adobe Photoshop. I use Photoshop CS6. So, yeah, that's what I'll be using to do this tutorial. Now, the size is my screen's resolution. Yours can be whatever your screen resolution is, or however big you want your image to be. Mine is 1920 by 1080. So you're gonna have this blank page right here. If you don't know anything about Photoshop, I'll be newbie friendly. I used these two colors. If you want to be exact on what I'm doing, for the darker black color and the red color. And if you'd like, I'll also add those to the description, all the color codes that I use. So now the first thing that I do is I paint that black. And I make a new layer. And let's see if I can even remember how I did this. It's been a while. Shoot. How did I make that? Ah, I'm sorry. I apologize. I made it red. I did not make it black. The first layer is red. And I add a new layer, filter, render, clouds. And I set it to overlay. Now, before we do anything, we're just going to turn that off. You just click this button right here, this little eyeball button right here to turn it off and on. It doesn't delete it, it just makes it invisible. We're gonna make it invisible right now. Right now, you could either double click this, or you could click blending options, and this window right here will pop up. What we're going to do is we're going to go into gradient overlay, and we're going to go into here. We're going to click this first one here. It should be your preset colors right here into a gradient. And then switch these like that and press OK. Then you click where it says style, and usually the default would be linear. And then put it on reflected. And then you see this dial right here where it says angle. We're going to set it to 0. This is what you should have right here. And we're going to scale this up a little bit. Say around 129 looks good. Alright, and then you press OK. Now, when you do this, you should have something that looks like this. Kind of a cloud that fades into the middle. And this side fades in the middle as well. And it should be darker in the center there. Next, what you want to do is make a new layer. The shortcut for text is T. Otherwise, you can click this button right here to type. And I'm just going to type Aldrovy. Now, as you can see, it's very small. If it's a blinking cursor where you're typing, you can press Control and hold the Control. And if you look really closely, there's a little diagonal arrow. You can just click and drag. And that makes the text bigger. And you could pick whatever font you want to use. I chose this one just because, I don't know, for some reason it looked nice to me. You could also get more fonts off of defont.com. I'm not going to get into that in this tutorial, but you can get a font off of defont.com, and there's some pretty cool fonts on there that you could download and install onto your Adobe Photoshop. If I have the chance, I will do a tutorial on getting fonts and installing them on your Photoshop. But for now, let's just use the default fonts. Anyway, you got your text and you want it centered and you have it as big as you want it to be. I'm going to actually make this a little bit smaller. Also, if you need to zoom, if you hold the Alt key on Windows, I don't use a Mac, I'm not familiar with Mac at all, but I apologize for that in advance for any of you Mac users out there. But for Windows, if you hold Alt and the scroll wheel, you can zoom. By default, because this image is so big, it's not zoomed in at 100%, because if it was zoomed in at 100%, you wouldn't be able to see it all. So that's alright, it still looks fine, and it's not affecting the file in any way, so when you save it, it'll be the size that you want it to be, but while you're editing it, it'll be this size unless you zoom in. Anyway, to continue with the tutorial, double click on that or right click blending options, and we're going to do a color overlay, and we're going to make this black, like all the way black, so it should be all zeros, and then press OK. And then we're going to do a outer glow, and we're going to make this color, I don't really go by all the colors exactly, but I kind of what I did here was I just had the default placement here and just made it red, so it's kind of a pinkish color. And put the opacity all the way up, and we're just going to increase the size just a little bit, about 18. That looks pretty nice. 18. And then we're going to put a inner glow, and then this one we're going to make a little bit darker red. So we're going to move this placement. I moved it a little bit to the right here. If you want my exact color, I will put these in the description if you want to follow my tutorial exactly. Anyway, I wanted to make this just a little bit darker, so here's the color code. And also opacity all the way up. And we're going to make the size just a little bit bigger as well. About 16. If you want to make it exactly like the other, 18. That doesn't look too bad either, so we'll leave it at 18. And then we're going to put a stroke on there. And the stroke will be completely red. I apologize for that. if it seemed like you lagged, you did not. My recording software only allows me to do 10 minutes per video, so I had to start a new recording. I did not do anything since then. And then we're going to press OK. Well, I don't think, yeah, okay. Anyway, I know it looks a little bit different because I'm not being exact. If you want to go lighter on the inside, you may. So the inner glow, just make it a little bit lighter maybe. Yep, there we go. That looks a little bit more similar to what I've got in my background. And then the outer glow, let's make that one a little bit darker. There we go. That looks pretty nice. Okay, so that would be all for this text. Now what we're going to do is we can right click, duplicate, or Control D. And just press OK. Now with this layer, even though we don't have the text on it, we could still press Control and click, and you can move it. But what we're actually going to do is we're going to click on it, we're going to resize it. And just put it right over top, just like that. Now, I know you're probably thinking, that looks really funky, Aldrivy. What are we doing here? Well, if you actually take this layer here, you can drag it. You could drag, I'm probably be easier if you drag this one over to the top here. So that way it's behind. And now if you double click that top one, I'm sorry, double click the back one, that'll be the one below. And as soon as you double click it, you'll be in the main blending options, the default menu here. And if you just lower the opacity however you feel comfortable. I say about 32 looks good, maybe a little bit lower than that. And there you have it. That's how I made this background. It's not always going to look the same because for one, when you file or filter render clouds, they always look different. They're always different. If you want to cycle through different clouds, you can press Control F and it'll change it. And if you don't like what you do, you could press Control plus Z. I'm sorry about that. And but yeah, and you can press File, Save As if you want to save it to your computer. And right here, you can either save it. I like to save it as PNG. You can save it as PNG or a JPEG. It doesn't really matter. And you pick the folder you want it to be in. So I've already got one made that I am happy with. This is just a tutorial. I'm not even going to keep this. But yeah, now you know how I made my background. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like this video and you'd like to see more tutorials like this, hit that like button and hit subscribe. Thanks for watching.